listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 23 Personnel Podcast. This is your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
The Spurs are winning. They're up 115-78 with 7 minutes left against the 76ers, who apparently are wearing some flashback jerseys tonight. I didn't even notice. That's just the Allen Iverson jersey is just what's burned into my retinas, and I didn't even realize it was like some sort of flashback game until like a few minutes ago. I've been watching the entire second half. How are you? You want to talk some Spurs?
I have no context for Spurs except for Wembanyama is a unicorn. I was doing much better until about an hour ago.
I think you want to just dive right into that, or did you want to?
Yeah, I guess let's
adjust something else. Okay.
Well, I mean, we got lots to talk about. Excuse me. It was senior night. I guess we'll just start off with reacting to Texas Tech losing to TCU at home 73-68 or whatever the final ended up being.
73-65.
73-65. It was at that. I was getting a 5 and because it was an 8-point difference.
I swear the final score on TV was 67 because I turned to look for my daughter and she was not in the room. I really think it was. I think they had that on the screen and I don't know why. Anyway, it's obviously not the official final score.
So Texas Tech, one, you in context to what happened tonight, Texas Tech won on the road in Ames, Iowa on Saturday, but then lost tonight. This is now the third out of the 4 times you beat a top 5 or 6 team that you lost the next game. So you are 1-4 playing unranked teams after knocking off a top 5-ish team, 3 of which were on the road or neutral site. What is that about?
I don't know. I think I've cracked a little bit of the code. We saw some tonight, what I expected to see almost immediately when Toppin was announced that the season would be over. We saw a regression from what these guys have been able to do on shooting. So in the 3 wins versus Kansas State, Cincinnati, and at Iowa State, I don't want to take anything away from those wins. Wins are wins, especially in the Big 12. They're hard to come by. But Texas Tech shot 55%, 52, and 59% from the field in those 3 games. 59% on the road against a top 5 or 6 team. That's not going to happen very often, but they did it. We all saw it. It was incredible. The score wasn't as close as it sounds, and we'll get to the Iowa State game later. In that same stretch, 47% from 3 versus K-State, 40 versus Cincinnati, 48 versus Iowa State. Those are all at or above your average of 47% field goal percentage and 40% 3. Tonight, we saw some regression, which felt like it was going to happen eventually at some point. Still a very commendable 45% field goal shooting, but not 52, not 55, not 59. And then 34% from 3. That was the big drop off that I think was a big part of the game, along with losing the rebound battle for the first time since Toppin's been out. Somehow Texas Tech had managed to win the rebound battle those 3 games in a row and then lost it tonight. I don't trust this number, Spencer. I think I've got that wrong for tonight's game. Let me look that up. Let's see. I had 39 offensive. Let's see. Where is it? Total rebounds. No, that's right. 39-25. So TCU really out-rebounded Texas Tech tonight, which is if you're shooting below your average in both just field goal percentage overall and from 3, and you're getting out rebounded, you're probably going to lose.
TCU had 23 defensive rebounds.
Yeesh.
They also out rebounded you on the offensive side. There was 16-7 on that one. It felt like you would shoot and you were not having a good shooting night. And you turn around and there's 4 frogs in the paint fighting over which one of them was going to put on the rebound. And your guys are mostly around the perimeter. Then you had one guy getting boxed out and pushed around down low because it was 4-on-1. Then when you would get the ball, whether it was on offense or looking out for a rebound, it felt like they played much smaller than their physical size once they got the ball inside, or they were fighting for a rebound, if that makes sense. Like Bamboye did not play like a big. There was no real, it felt like there was very little fight in the paint for possession, for rebound, for all that kind of stuff. It's weird to look at Atwell and say like he led your team in scoring with 19 points, but also like at times felt like he couldn't hit water falling out of a boat. Like he was clanking, he was missing so hard. He went 5 of 13 from 3. And that's still,
it's almost 40%. I mean, that's
almost 40%.
Yeah, that's pretty darn solid, but not what we're accustomed to seeing.
Even like that's wouldn't even be that far off of his average. But those 8 misses just felt like that's just not like he just couldn't miss the past few weeks. And then he has a 40% shooting night. You're like, well, that's a pretty good night. And you're like, we needed him to hit 8 more threes.
Sure.
It's unrealistic expectations. I realize that. And then of course he had the 2 drives and there's, shots inside the paint that went in. And that may have been, 2-point attempts 3 and 4 on the season for him. Petty was, I guess, the bright spot offensively, or at least shooting wise. He finished with 17 points, 6 of 8 from the field. He was 5 of 7 from 3. The other 3 starters, man, it's head scratching, man. Bamboye played 19 minutes, had 4 points. Anderson played all 40 minutes. He had 11 points. He was 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. Watts had 19 points on 1 of 4 shooting, and he hit 2 free throws. It says Watts has 1 turnover. That doesn't feel right, and maybe that's just me being unfair. And maybe that 1 turnover is the time violation where he didn't cross half court in time. But there was something else he did too, like in the second half, where it was like he didn't inbound it in time. And he had the 5-second call when he was trying to inbound on an out of bounds play under the basket. Anderson had 6 turnovers. Petty had 3. You committed 15 as a team. TCU, I think, was averaging just under 13 turnovers per game, and they forced you into 15. It's just everywhere you turned, man, TCU was better. Or at least better than you. I mean, yeah, they shot 7 of 20 from 3, so technically 35% from 3, and you finished 34.4. They shot 46.7% from the field. You shot 45.3. They out-rebounded you by a metric ton, 14 rebounds. They only had 12 turnovers to your 15, and they had 10 steals to your 7.
Yeah,
had
and
4.
to echo that, sorry, I'm just more of the same. 22 second chance points versus Texas Tech's 8.
Mhm.
Just the points in the paint dominated 38 versus Texas Tech's 22. So just some really this game, the second it started, it felt like it was going to be like this the entire way, and we missed quite a bit of it because I went to a first and second grade basketball game tonight. We'll get to that later. So I missed quite a bit of the game, but what I was able to keep up with, it looked like that was exactly the type of game it was. By the time I got home, I think there was 8 minutes left, and TCU had a pretty decent lead, I think, at that point, but Tech was still bouncing back and showing some fight. But man, this is what I expected to see versus Cincinnati or versus Iowa State. It wasn't. I'm very grateful for that. I'm very thankful to have won those 2 games. Kansas State notwithstanding, but it still hurts to actually kind of see it and see what teams can do to you on a night where you've got guys going 1 for 7 from 3.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, like, you were watching Texas Tech struggle offensively, and you're just like, the misses you were seeing, like, this is not going to end well. But maybe you can survive, you can figure it out and pull it off. It just never. You had a lead. When was the last time you had a lead? Let me look that up. Last time you had a lead in this game was tied 50-50 with 11 to go.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. The last 11 plus minutes of the game. It's back and forth. I guess they took the lead. TCU took the lead for good with 9:13 to go. So there's 2-minute stretch there where nobody scored. Oh, gosh. Anyways. It really puts a damper on me wanting to talk about Iowa State and what you did. But in the same vein, you were probably very lucky to survive that one. You needed the big 17 and 20 point leads that you had to end up winning that game. You never got that lead against TCU. It was close. They took a lead early and never let you pull away. You never got a good rhythm going offensively, obviously. And then, shoot, I mean, it's just rough all the way around. Saturday, going back to Iowa State, you won that one 82-73. You gave Iowa State there was their first loss at home of the season. You had multiple large leads throughout the game. You had a 20-point lead going into half, or pretty close to halftime, 17 at the half. 17 with 10 minutes to go, and you were up 17 with 1:30 to go. But there was a time less than a minute later, after being up 17, that you're like, this is not going to end well for Texas Tech. That there was a stretch in the second half, Michael, I want to go through specifically. There was a 10-minute stretch. You probably all, like, if you watch the game, you know exactly what happened, or you remember just the feeling of dread. You were at 17 minutes to go. You were up 15. And at the end of that 10-minute stretch, you were up 6. So they took 10 minutes to cut 9 points off the lead, but it was a very stressful run.
Mm-hmm.
In that 10-minute stretch, you committed 18 fouls and or turnovers that eventually was stopped by Texas Tech, Grant McCasland calling a timeout. You scored within that stretch 4 threes that helped keep it close. You actually, in that run with 10 minutes to go, so 7 minutes into this run, it was still a 17-point lead. So the 10-minute stretch from 7 to 10 minutes, it was kind of like Iowa State was kind of whittling it down a couple points here and there. And then you hit a 3 with 10:42 to go. You were up by 17. But then 3 minutes later, you were up by 6. In that same stretch, Iowa State went 12 of 15 from the free throw line. They attempted 15 free throws in a 10-minute stretch, including completing a 4-point play on a made 3. So you get through that stretch. You actually then go back and expand it back to a 17-point lead. You got 17 points with 1:35 to go. And then Iowa State and Momcilovic, or however you pronounce his name, with his deceptively fast release. I couldn't, I was watching him shoot. I was like, how is he getting the ball off so fast? And it didn't look like he was extending all the way too. So it's like he had the ball in his hip, but all of a sudden his hands were coming up and the ball was in the air. It was like, it's magic. Misdirection, sleight of hand almost. And he was just draining him. It's like, good gravy. We're going to lose this game because they just couldn't miss. Iowa State hit a 3-pointer and then a layup to get it to within 6 points with 42 seconds to go. So in roughly 50 seconds of game time, again, they cut 11 points off the lead. And as much as you had a pucker factor going on in the other stretch run, in 50 seconds when they cut a 17-point lead down to 6, you're like, this is it. This is how it ends. They had all the momentum. And then you play defense well enough to force not a great looking 3. They miss it, and you grab the rebound. And then from there, you're able to hit free throws to kind of ice that game to finish it out. You finish with 6 players scoring in double figures. But man, there were a couple of moments, and probably this is just how you would have to have won a game like this. Yeah, you were up by 20 at one point. You took a ginormous halftime lead. You had 17-point lead in the second. Like, you had on the ESPN game tracker several times your win percentage was like 99.9. And then in that run, I think it dropped into the 60s. Your win percentage, like it was very close, getting ready to flip on you. But winning a game on the road, you take it however you can, especially against a top 5 team, and like you got with Iowa State. It's a projected 7-point win for the Cyclones. You end up winning by 9. And then you end up giving it back tonight against TCU. So.
At least we had Saturday.
Well, okay, so speaking of Saturday, you had that win. May have been one of the most successful athletic department-wide days out there. Your softball team won both games in a doubleheader by run rule. Your baseball team won. Basketball team won. Your men's basketball team won in Ames. And then your men's and women's indoor track teams swept the Big 12 championship. This was your men's 4th straight Big 12 title, and your women's 2nd. It was back-to-back.
Wow.
So you had 2 conference championships, a top 5 win on the road for basketball. You'll count every baseball win, count every one of them, and then softball doubleheaders. We'll get more into the specifics of the significance of the softball doubleheaders, but even those were not just wins. They were kind of historic. So you had Saturday. I guess you had Sunday and today too, where you were just like just living it. But let's take a step back for a second. Big picture, basketball wise. I want to start like actually not with Texas Tech because I thought this was a funny story. Well, it was funny, the satire side of it. The real side, I haven't really seen it come out yet. Have you seen this about the USC player, Chad Baker Mazzara?
I've only seen what you posted here, and I'll let you go from there. So no, I'm gonna learn. You're gonna educate me on what all this is about.
So out of nowhere, I got the notification on Sunday that USC basketball player Chad Baker Mazzara had been dismissed from the team. I was like, okay, well, why does that matter? Why do I care? What happened? And the first thing I see ends up being a tweet from a satire account, which I hadn't done all the research to figure that out yet. But essentially, the satire tweet said was, investigation determined he falsified his birth certificate because he's old. I think he's in his 6th year. He played for Auburn and a few other schools. And I'm not gonna take credit for it, but it reminded me, or I was reminded of that scene from Benchwarmers, where they get the kid. I don't remember his name, the actor's name, but he's playing for the kid's team. He's very clearly an adult. It's like he's drinking beer. He's got a very like defined beard. He's kind of losing his hair. And he says, he's playing for his 12-year-old team, and they're like, let's check that out. Like, do you have your birth certificate? And it's a handwritten with crayon. It says, I am 12. And it has his a picture of his face on it, but it's just, anyways, what actually happened, he ended up leaving the game with an apparent injury, going back to Baker Mazzara, went to the locker room briefly, and then came back out to sit not with the team, but like next to the team, kind of, but like around the corner. He sat on the baseline in some folding chairs amongst fans, which was a very weird thing. And it came out later that he ended up being dismissed. So apparently there was some back and forth on whether or not he was available to play in this game. And then some strife internally, to then very quickly being dismissed. So
during the game.
Yeah.
Which is
wild.
with it, yeah, it is. And without knowing anything else, I'm almost impressed that he chose to come back out and finish watching the game at all. I wonder if he did that for his teammates or something, but that's bizarre to me. If I had gone to the locker room and was dismissed from the team, my butt would be in the parking lot in my car. I would have been down the road
walking home
by that point. Of course, I don't know, okay, judging by how you just worded that, I'm assuming this was in LA. This wasn't.
I think it
wasn't a road game. He wasn't in freaking Maryland or something. So, okay, if it's a home game, that's even more impressive. But I thought, yeah, if he's at Rutgers in that storied Big Ten rivalry over there,
USC.
Then, yeah, I would definitely have hung around the team as long as possible to make sure I get back home.
Let's see. Scroll. They were at home versus number 12 Nebraska.
Okay.
Where they lost by 15.
Very interesting.
Anyways, coming into tonight, Texas Tech had moved up in all of the ratings and rankings. Ken Palm had you at 13, where you started off at 12.
Yeah, aside from preseason, that's the highest Texas Tech has been all year.
Mm-hmm. Your AP ranking was 10. Haslametrics had you up to 13. Your net ranking was 13. And then around the conference, Arizona was 2, Iowa State dropped to 6, Houston 7, Texas Tech 10, Kansas 14, BYU dropped out to others receiving votes. Essentially, they'd be number 26. And before tonight, I wanted to ask and talk about like, hey, the bracketology preview or whatever, the reveal, the top 16 reveal from now 2 weeks ago had Texas Tech on the 4 seed, and they had confirmed basically that they dropped him from a 3 to a 4 because of Toppin's absence or projected absence. But then all they had done since that, since Toppin's injury, was to win. They went 3-0. I was like, well, do we get? Obviously, like we should get that back and then some, I think. And then you lost tonight, so I don't even want to talk about it anymore. But
come on, I'm a professional bracketologist. I wrote it down. I wrote it down on my little description tonight. So
yeah,
that means Texas Tech will just be, it should even out. They won a huge game on the road, lost a clunker at home. Big whoop. 4 seed. Nothing changes. Ball up top.
Texas Tech and Houston, they're not technically tied for second because Texas Tech is now 12-5. Houston is currently playing. They're 12-4. However, the worst you can do is finish tied with Kansas. No, you can finish tied technically with Iowa State at 12-6, but you would hold the tiebreaker over Iowa State. So you would finish 4th in the standing. So you can finish no lower than 4th. Before tonight, you could have, maybe you still can, finish as high as 2nd. Arizona wrapped up the league on Monday night. They're going to go at least 15-3, if not 16-2. Second place, as close as they can get, would be 14-4. And that would be Houston, potentially. Again, they're playing tonight, and they'll play again on Saturday. Sorry, they play tomorrow.
I was about to say Houston's not tonight. Yeah.
They'll play tomorrow. Texas Tech can go 13-5, depending on how they do against BYU on Saturday night. The last game of the Big 12 season, because they play very latest on Saturday night. But all that means is how that's going to shake out for the seeding in the Big 12 tournament. Top 4s get the double bye, so you're good there. Not that you need a strong performance in the conference tournament, but it surely can't hurt. Speaking of, did you see that they are installing the floor, the playing surface for the Big 12 basketball tournament?
I saw that a few weeks ago, and I don't think you and I ever talked about it. I don't know why, but I remember seeing they previewed it and they showed the tablet or a tablet kind of controlling what the floor can look like and how it could look like any floor in the Big 12, which was pretty cool. So I'll be interested to see how that works. I think they are using it for the women's tournament, which starts tomorrow. We're recording Tuesday, so the women's tournament starts Wednesday the 4th. If you guys want to get a sneak peek, Lady Raiders don't play till 11 a.m. on Thursday. Just a heads up there. But yeah, I mean it's gimmicky, but so what? It'll make me look. I'll check it out.
Speaking of gimmicky, did you see that the Big 12 announced Windex as an official partner sponsor of the conference tournament?
No, I didn't.
Yep. And they also announced that the floor cleaner crew, the guys that run around with the rag and towels to clean up after the guys land on the court, they go dry it off. They're going to be in like jumpsuits, like branded Windex jumpsuits, and with the squeegees and all that kind of stuff. They're like really steering into that one.
They're kind of trying to Pop-Tart bowl the Big 12 tournament with Windex. I'm fine with that. I mean, I feel like there's potential there. I now I want to see a Windex Bowl just to see what they could possibly do with how far they could take the bit.
Played on glass.
But yeah, yes, I was about to say in basketball it makes way more sense with shining glass, and there's a lot of glass to be played off of in basketball. That makes way more sense.
It does. All right, the rest of the Big 12 slate tonight does not include Houston, but Oklahoma State at UCF. That one went to overtime. Oklahoma State in a game where they saw 215 points scored. They won 111 to 104. Kansas State won at home versus West Virginia by 2. They squeaked that one out 65-63. And then currently ongoing, or probably getting pretty close to an ending, Kansas at Arizona State, Colorado at Utah, and BYU at Cincinnati.
Probably the big story on these is Arizona State's currently up with after Kansas had an awful first half. Arizona State was up 40-20. But Kansas came roaring back and has outscored them 21-9 in the second half. So with 12 minutes left to play, Arizona State's up 49-41. Utah is up. Nope. Utah is down 81-69 at home versus Colorado. And another interesting tidbit, Cincy is up pretty big at home versus BYU with 12 minutes left, 61-44. Bearcats with the lead.
BYU has not fared the same since they sustained a season-ending injury to their star, Richie Saunders, or one of their stars, as Texas Tech has. I think they've lost 4 straight, or maybe this would be 4. They are trending in the wrong direction, which is fine for Texas Tech's next opponent. I'm okay to see them struggle here. To see Texas Tech go out with a good shot to finish the game, the season on a win on the road. So, yes, you got 3 games currently ongoing. And then, like I said, Houston plays tomorrow versus they're hosting Baylor. So see how that goes. Lady Raiders, they have completed their regular season, and they are in conference awards season before the tournament starts. Michael, you mentioned they tip off their tournament on Thursday morning. But since then, we've seen that Coach Krista Gerlich has won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, a lot of Big 12 honors with the Lady Raiders this year, and rightfully so. Gerlich wins Coach of the Year. This is a 25-6 Lady Raider team. All 6 of those losses came in Big 12 play, so they rolled into Big 12 play 20-0, 12-6 as in the conference. And so this is the first 25-win season. And the previous seasons, I'm including any postseason activity. So obviously no postseason activity yet. But this is still the first 25-win season since 03-04, so a couple of decades, y'all. Only the second 20-win season since 2013. They did have a 20-win season. They were 20-15 in the 22-23 season. This is their first 12-win conference season since 04-05. And this is their first winning conference season period since they went 11-7 in 2012 and 2013. So and unfortunately, a lot of these are against Gerlich's own seasons, but it's an incredible year. It's a great milestone. I don't know if people fully appreciate it because sometimes this team is frustrating to watch when the shots aren't falling and when they're turning the ball over or, committing unsmart fouls. But this is just really a historic season almost, at least one of the best seasons we've seen in the past 25 years as Texas Tech fans and alumni. And not to take anything away from the players, I've got to mention them too. So Snetta Collins won 6th Man of the Year, which is to be expected. She also appeared on second team on the Big 12 honors. Maupin makes first team. No real surprise there. And then the other honorable mention was actually an honorable mention. Jalen Bristow made that list. So 3 Lady Raiders honored. Collins actually honored twice, really, and Gerlich honored as well with what she was able to do this season with this roster.
Yeah. They finished the regular season tied in the standings for fourth with Oklahoma State, but they hold the tiebreaker, so technically it would be 5th place, but for seeding purposes, in terms of rankings, TCU won the conference and finished 10th. West Virginia was 15th, Baylor at 20th, Texas Tech 21st, and then Oklahoma State and Iowa State are receiving votes. Do you want to go through the last game recaps or just talk about what's on the road ahead for the conference tournament?
Yeah, I can go through it really quickly. So Texas Tech finished their last 2 games 1-1. Lost on the road at Kansas. I was a little bit worried about this one with how physical this was and how ugly it was in Lubbock. Texas Tech did get the win in that game, but lost on the road 59-68. There were 43 fouls in that game. There were 50 fouls in the game in Lubbock. So congratulations, Zebras. Really, really proud of what y'all are able to do in calling 93 games across 2 games between the same 2 teams. Tech offense was just terrible that day. Ice cold from 3. They were 4 of 20 as a team. Maupin was 0 for 8. Even Collins was 0 for 4. Maupin had 4 turnovers. Just one of those kind of days, a frustrating day like I alluded to before. Kansas was adamant to get to the foul line, and they did. Texas Tech was also completely buying into that and fouling the crap out of them. I think there wasn't a lot of, hang on, you can't call it. Nope. Like, that was dumb. Don't do that. So Texas Tech had 27 fouls to Kansas's 16. Fritz and Bristow fouled out, and they were the only 2 players not named Madley Blacklock who had made a 3 for the day. So that's not great. They fouled out with, I think, 3 or 4 minutes left. They had 4 other players with 3+ fouls. I think of those 4, 3 of them had 4. Kansas got to the line 27 times, Spencer. Maya Nichols herself shot 17 free throws. She made 15. Again, Tech lost by 9. So there's some math there. Tech only shot 9 free throws. They made 5. The one positive, though, which we didn't get to say this as much as we wanted to this season, but Sarah Sonogo was a bucket on Wednesday. She was 8 of 10 from the field, 16 points, 6 boards, and 5 blocks, which is pretty darn impressive. So a great day for Sonogo, a senior who, as we roll into Sunday versus Arizona State here at home, was senior day. Didn't realize how many seniors were on this team because I was not keeping up with the transfer roster as I should have. But anyway, 8 seniors on the team. And I'll read them off right now before I forget to do this. So Snetta Collins, of course, Hima Nunez, Adley Blacklock, Sydney Love, Sarah Sonogo, and her sister Miriam, Bailey Maupin, Danae Fritz, Jada Malone, all seniors that were honored and will be moving on in some form or fashion next year. Bristow could be the only contributing return player that saw meaningful minutes on the court this season. But Arizona State, just a really ugly first quarter. I think it was like 3-4 headed into the first media timeout. In the first quarter, it was tough. Nobody could make a shot. But Bristow was your highest scorer that day, 18 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. Perfect from the line with 4 free throws. Danae Fritz chipped in 10 points, 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Made both her free throws. And then Jada Malone came in with 11 points off the bench, 4 of 5, and 3 of 4 from the line. Now, you didn't hear me say Snetta Collins, but that's because she was knocked out right at halftime. The last possession of the first half at midcourt, and I missed it. I don't know for sure what happened, but the buzzer went off, and I forget where the shot was, but it was along the baseline or down low. And then after the buzzer went off, you realize Collins is down at half court and clutching her head, and it sure looked like a concussion type injury. But I mean, like I said, they didn't replay it. Of course, you're in the stands; they're not going to really replay an injury or something like that. One, they may not have a good view of it, so if you watched it at home, you might know more. But anyway, whatever happened, it left her on the ground. It left her really shaken up, and they escorted her to the locker room, and she never came back. So I assumed it was a concussion, but Gerlich did confirm after the game that it was not, and she will be available pretty much immediately for the tournament. So
That's good to hear.
yes, it is. And she was able to come back out, because I wish they would have done it before, but they honored the seniors after the game of the Lady Raiders games. And so she was able to come back out and accept her award and be announced and celebrated. So at least there's that. But Texas Tech will play, like we mentioned earlier, they will play Thursday, March 5th. They are the number 5 seed, as we said, since they did lose that game up in Stillwater. And so Oklahoma State gets the number 4 seed. So Texas Tech will play the winner of number 12 Kansas State or number 13 Cincinnati on 11 a.m. Thursday, March 5th. And if Texas Tech is able to take care of either K-State or Cincinnati, they would then move on to play Oklahoma State for a rematch Friday, March 6th, also at 11 a.m. Or I should say the Thursday game's on ESPN Plus, and the Friday game would be, ain't no curses, would be on ESPNU.
You know what we failed to do, Michael?
What's that?
Was acknowledge the seniors on the men's team.
Oh, that's right.
They had their senior night, which is my title here for the episode. Donovan
not very
Outwell,
many.
Tyree Bryan, Jack Francis are your 3 seniors. That doesn't mean those are the 3 players that are not going to be playing again. There seems to be some steam that Christian Anderson may be playing himself into professional league sooner rather than later. But of course, McCaslin and McGuire handle this very differently, whereas McGuire said, if there's any chance that you may not be back, let's go ahead and honor you for senior night. With the basketball program, it was seniors only, which, I mean, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I don't mind that each of them have their own way of doing it. Each has their merits, but that could have been the last time you see Christian Anderson playing for Texas Tech and Lubbock, which is kind of hard to believe that time may already be over. It feels like this season's been really long, but we've gotten here so fast. I mean, we're in the first week of March, and probably because of the overlap with successful and high level football that took up the first 6 weeks or so of the basketball season. By the time that football was over, you were into conference play. And then it just, it's 2 games a week, essentially, except for that 1 week you only had 1 game for 2 months. So Francis is your only 4-year player, which is not that big of a surprise. He was on the broadcast, got some praise for his efforts and his contributions to the team over his time. And obviously Tyree Bryan and Donovan Outwell are our first-year players for this program. But, Bryan has been working his way into a more contributing role the past week or so. Has stayed engaged and has seen his contributions, his minutes go up, whereas Atwell has just been lights out, maybe playing himself into a best guard type of conversation ever, or best shooting guard, best scorer, best 3-point shooter. I mean, what however you want to define or kind of box him in there, but unbelievable player for Texas Tech this season. And I didn't want to miss recognizing the three of them that were honored as seniors tonight for senior night with the men's team. So,
Thank you, seniors.
yes. Let's talk stickball, softball, baseball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have the tournament music queued up for basketball, but we'll probably have that up and ready to go next week because it's just about time, Michael. Softball has a perfect weekend where they hosted the Janine McCaney Memorial Classic here in Lubbock. I say here. They're here at home there in Lubbock, where they went 6-0 on the weekend. A 24-0 drubbing of Abilene Christian. On Thursday, 10-2 victory over North Texas in 5 innings. On Friday, 18-0 victory over the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders in 5 innings, and a 9-0 victory over Detroit Mercy. That was your doubleheader, your back-to-back doubleheader on Saturday. And here's what we were kind of mentioning before. Both of those games were no-hitters. Nyjah Kennedy pitched the first one against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Caitlin Terry pitched the second one versus Detroit Mercy. Yes, it was obviously a shutout, but it was a no-hitter in both of those games, which is just unbelievable. And then to come back on Sunday with a 24-1 win over the Islanders in Game 1 and a 7-2 win over North Texas in Game 2. I was flipping back and forth. It was the last couple of innings of the first game on Sunday, and then I watched all the second game. I was flipping that with the baseball game. This was my first time to see Caitlin Terry pitch. I know we're 23 games in, so I did not know that like her pitching arm is completely tatted up, the sleeve tattoo, which has got to be very difficult to pick up. She is as advertised. I mean, obviously as a former All Pac-12 freshman, and then I can't remember her career record, but single-digit losses in her 2 years of pitching for UCLA. She is no joke, which is something this team was lacking, was starting pitching depth last season. Now, you did have some other players pitch earlier in the season to kind of allow Kennedy to kind of reserve some of her innings there towards the later run in conference play, then through the postseason. But having another arm like Terry in postseason play could be what this team needs to get you over the hump. Having said all that, your offense is equally unbelievable. Terry, this same Terry who threw a no-hitter, I think she batted 900 on the weekend. I think she was like 9 of 10. You had a transfer, and I'm blanking on her name. Is a backup catcher. She did play left field. I think she had 3 home runs in the weekend. Let me look her up real quick before I forget, or before I just completely. Her name is Lagi Quiroga. Transfer in from Cal. She was just unbelievable at the plate. Yeah, sorry, I was just going through some of the names I remember watching this weekend. This team is ridiculous. It's loaded. Offense, pitching, You're 22-1 so far in the season. This weekend you surrendered 2, 4, 5 total runs in 6 games while scoring, I cannot do this math, 24, 34, 52, 61, 85, 92.
92, yeah.
92-5. Thank you for listening to me do mental math out loud. It's incredible. This team is heating up for now Big 12 play that starts this upcoming weekend versus Houston Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. It is on the road. Your Big 12 home opener is not until the following weekend where you host Arizona. So you've got 3 versus Houston this weekend, midweek next week versus Tarleton State, and then home again versus Arizona. Houston is 14-7 so far in the Big 12 season. You are 22-1. So baseball hosted Cal State Bakersfield. And through the first 2 games, it looked like you were just the more talented roster. You beat them Friday 17-4 in a shortened game. I think they institute run rules for these non-conference games. 17-4 in 7 innings. You came back Saturday afternoon, beat them 14-3 in 7 innings, but then lost on Sunday 15-8. That breaks your 7-game win streak you had going since losing the first 3 in Arlington. Not a good. I mean, I don't pretend to know. I didn't watch the first parts of this game, so I don't like. They jumped on your early pitching early. You're starting pitching early. I don't know what the lineup looked like or some of the strategery, the tactics here. But you dropped game 3. You won the series. That was not the worst thing to come out of Sunday, unfortunately. You had a player that was arrested over the weekend, Sunday night, Monday morning. Pitcher, outfielder Jesse Rusinek was arrested for driving while intoxicated, which is very bad.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, I would be surprised if he is on the team at this point. The last I heard, they were still going through their internal investigation, but that the team was aware of the arrest and everything. I would have my doubts that he is on the roster for too much longer.
Yep, unfortunate. Big mistake that's going to cost him probably quite a bit.
That hangs with you for
yes,
probably the rest of your life. I did not hear if there was any kind of incident or accident, or obviously we would hear a lot more if there was an injury or some sort, but like probably extremely lucky that didn't progress or elevate to that level. But either way, dealing with a DWI is a very long-lasting impact on not only your ability to hold a license and to have your own freedoms to be able to drive and transport yourself, but that one hangs around. Outside of just your ability to have a roster on a collegiate baseball team. So it's very unfortunate there. And then schedule-wise, their upcoming series will be this weekend will be versus Penn State, Friday 6:30 first pitch, Saturday 2 p.m., Sunday 1 p.m. And then you get 2 games midweek next week versus UTSA before you start Big 12 play the following weekend. So softball is going to be a week ahead of you, which they started their season a week ahead of you. Baseball, their first Big 12 series is this weekend versus Houston, whereas with baseball, it's next weekend versus Kansas. And then Michael found this out and pointed out last week, but they will not travel again for another 2 weeks until they leave, till they play at Dallas Baptist, which will be a full month from when they play down in Edinburgh versus UTRGV. There are some football things I want to quickly touch on since we last spoke. The combine was this past weekend. For those that care about uniforms and just how we all got our start over at Steak and the Plains, we were a fashion blog, but Uniswag, which is a production out there, they selected, or they are awarding or named, the Texas Tech throwbacks that were worn versus Kansas as the throwback uniforms of the year. And they were,
look at us.
They were sharp. They to my mind, had probably a few too many different elements, but a whole picture, big picture, I think they were very well. I think they were really great uniforms.
Yeah, and every time I see a black hoodie with that red, flat double T with the vertical stripes surrounding it, I just feel like I need that. I need one of those. And so that's kind of my mission. At some point, I'll have at least a T-shirt or something with that logo, because I did really appreciate how they did that, and how it is just basically an exact copy of what Texas Tech wore about 100 years ago. So I'm glad, I'm honored to be recognized. I'm going to take credit for having anything to do with this. I'm honored to be recognized, and grateful to Uniswag for giving Texas Tech its due. And I guess Adidas probably takes a little bit of credit there. I guess some, I don't know. Their logo's on the thing too. But yes, I'm with you. I thought that was really cool.
For those that are also in the Discord, some of the elements from this uniform that were highlighted in this throwback version are pulled from the uniform that I have as my avatar picture in the Discord. And I said several times, if you want to have like a true throwback, like a historical throwback, like I don't really want to go back to, like, it's different to consider like Southwest Conference days throwback, or like even the black glitter stuff from like the mid 2000s is throwback, although you could probably consider that now. There are elements here from way back then that I absolutely loved. So there was that. The combine I mentioned was this past weekend. You had 8 Red Raiders participating, and that did really well for themselves. Baron Morton, Caleb Douglas, Reggie Virgil on the offensive side, David Bailey, Romello Height, Lee Hunter, Skylar Gill Howard, and Jacob Rodriguez on defense. I think the biggest things to take away, Caleb Douglas is a lot faster than I thought he was.
No joke.
His official 40 time clocked in at 4.39. And then he had a broad jump of 10 feet, 6 inches.
Yeah, we were at a sports bar for the first half of the Iowa State game, and they had the combine going, and I happened to see his second run. Unofficially, it was 4.4, and his first run was also unofficially 4.4. So he was consistently that fast, and then I was thrilled to see it get upgraded a hundredth of a second to 4.39.
Yeah. I didn't see any numbers for Virgil. I don't know if he ran. Bailey, though, I think this was one that made a lot of splashes here, especially since their position groups ran earlier in the combine. His 40 was officially a 4.50, which clocks in as the fastest 40 time of any defensive end or edge player at the combine. And he clocked in as the third highest top end speed of any defensive end or edge player in the last 4 years. So Romello Height, no slouch for him. He's not a slouch. His 40 was 4.64, which is good for 6th among defensive ends at this year's combine. So Lee Hunter at 325 pounds ran a 5.18. I think some of the other drills highlighted his athleticism and his ability to move and across and around the field more so than straight line speed. The other thing I think he did really well for himself was his on-camera personality. His interviews, whether it was on the podium or there with a sideline reporter, I think were just phenomenal. The other thing that caught a lot of people's attention, Skylar Gill Howard put up 27 reps on the bench press, which was third most among defensive tackles this year. He also had some really amazing times at the podium and answers. He was asked about his transition, about how his involvement with the team following his injury. He talked about his leadership went from, on the field to external, to being, helping motivate and keep the guys playing hard together, and how much that meant for him. Because he didn't really know what his opportunity was going to look like after the season, whether he's going to be able to participate in the combine or have an additional year to play in college or any of that kind of stuff. But I think most Tech fans can point to his contributions on technically off the field, but in the huddle, all that kind of stuff as just very significant. And then finally, Jacob Rodriguez, his 40 was a 4.57. But the other drills, the shuttle, he ran a 4.19, was his fastest among all the linebackers. And a 3-cone was a 6.9, which was also fastest among the linebackers. So a lot of speed around the team, whether we fully recognize it or not. Next up is going to be the Texas Tech Pro Day, sometime in April. Those dates I haven't seen a date yet, and then the draft will be the 23rd to the 25th.
Oh, something else to mention, Spencer. I don't know how we haven't mentioned it yet, but the spring game's coming up too. The spring game will be
spring practices are upon us at some point too. They're coming up.
That's right. So the spring game will be Friday. It'll be a Friday Night Light kind of game, as far as I know. I think that's the plan. It'll be Friday, April 17th. So that's coming up in 6 weeks, but it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, there was a release that came out on the 19th, so about a week and a half ago. Spring practice starts March 10th, so a week from today, culminating with a Friday Night Lights version of the annual spring game on the 17th inside Jones AT&T.
Yeah, and I forget why. There's something. I think they had to move things up because of the George Strait concert. That's what it was.
I was just reading that. Yeah. Texas Tech moved its spring game this season to a Friday night in order to accommodate the necessary load-in time required for the 2 George Strait concerts the following week. In a full week to get everything in there.
Yeah, which, I mean, they had to move it. They needed that extra day, I guess, because typically it's on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. So, probably the 18th might have been when they would have had it, or the 25th, which obviously would not work between 2 concerts. But it's just interesting that the 18th was unavailable, but the 17th was. So they needed those extra handful of days to get King George moved in and everything. I wonder if he stays there. I wonder if he sleeps on site somewhere. Gets a couple of reps in at the bench press before the concert goes.
I would assume he's probably across the street at the Overton, but what do I know? Or
got a huge bus
a
that
tour
says
bus.
yeah, huge bus that says Dusty on the side. He's probably not there. He's probably not there until Friday, I would imagine. At the earliest, maybe Thursday. Maybe so we can go in and get a little early, get some Spankies.
Some fried cheese.
Yeah, hit up both of Lisa West's joints. Hit up Double Nickel. Just get fried cheese in both places.
Why wouldn't he hit up the West establishments?
Oh, good point. Yeah. Well, there's no reason because he's going to be there 3 or 4 days. So he'll probably he and Miranda Lambert will go to Dirk's at some point. Hit up the West table.
West table. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe have a Broadway and K Kolsch from Brewery LBK. Stop by Two Docks. Have a Chilton sour.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a question for you before we get to what do we learn. And
yes.
I don't know if you read this and like, what are you even asking me about? And I have context to explain where this is coming from. But I was curious, Michael. Do you have any medical or anatomy related aversions? And what I mean by that, not like I don't like X because it smells bad or something like it like gets under your skin, makes your skin crawl, type of thing. Your reaction is like, I can't handle it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. So of course I want to bring it up, but do you have something like that, Michael?
I'm not 100% sure what you're asking me, but
okay. So I will start and see if you have something.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. So not that long ago, our youngest child had her hand closed in a door. It got caught in the door. Ouch, right? It hurt. Broken bones is one thing. I don't think she broke anything, but if she did, like, okay, she's 2 or 3 and it's a pinky, like you can't do anything about it but tape or splinter, like it's not that big of a deal. Development as of yesterday, she was in the car and said that her finger kept opening. My first thought was, okay, so it's like a paper cut or something that like you can kind of see where there's a split there and you can kind of open it up. Like, okay, just leave it alone. We'll get home and get your Band-Aid. Come to find out, her fingernail had detached on 2 sides. So it opening was it flapping. And I was like,
she's obviously not averse to that.
Nope. I was like, Samantha, I'm tapping out. You got to take this one. Can't do it. And she was like playing with it. I was, ooh. So weird thing with nails, and also teeth, like loose teeth. Ugh, I for kids that lose all their teeth, like it irks me, man. Like, especially when they're like all gangly and turning and. So, out of curiosity, you got something like that gives you a little bit of the heebie-jeebies?
I think I'm there with you now. I'm with you now. I agree on the teeth because that came as a surprise to me. By then you've been a parent for at least 4 or 5 years. Whenever your kid starts losing their teeth, and you've seen a lot of things. Especially you're in round 3. I'm a novice. We just had 1. But by then you've seen a lot of things, you've smelled a lot of things, and you're like, oh, okay, well, her tooth's loose. All right, big deal. And then you realize, yeah, I don't want any part of that. I'm not going to pull it. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. It's going to fall out. And please stop flicking it at the table. Stuff like that. Like things you didn't realize. Yeah, things you didn't realize that was going to bother you. And then you're at dinner, and she's like, "Look, nope, nope, please don't. I'm fine without that." And that surprised me. I have not had to deal with a broken bone or a really intense fingernail thing, but I'd imagine those would affect me a little bit. Um, I, but yeah, I'm learning as I go, basically, and that's because I didn't really experience much growing up. I never broke a bone. I never had any big injury, but when it happens to your kid and you're the one that's kind of deal with it, it puts you in a different level. So I don't know. I don't know what I don't know yet. But yeah,
Well,
so far not a big fan of the teeth, and I do think I would probably have a similar reaction if there was some sort of nail. And then I think I could deal with the bone, but I wouldn't know what to do about it. It would just be like I'd be carrying a hot potato to the car and driving somewhere like an idiot, and then trying to get her somewhere to someone who can help.
Yeah, well, so coming from someone that works in the medical field, if there's a broken bone but there's skin intact, you can get away with going to urgent care. If it breaks the skin, you got to go to the ER.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's okay. I can already tell you that's going to be a problem for me if that were to ever happen.
I've never had to deal with anything like that myself.
No.
The only person in this house that's broken a bone has been me. And I'm grateful for that. Knock on all the wood. As a kid growing up, I broke my first bone. I think I broke my wrist in 2nd or 3rd grade. I broke it again in 6th grade. And then I've broken some bones in my feet a few times. Like one I stepped off we were at the pool there at Tech. I stepped off the side at one of their dive-in movies. And that long bone on the side, I broke that bone. I was in a boot for a while. And then a few years ago, Hayden was actually young. He was crawling on one of our the little tiny slides. But he was too small to be doing it by himself. And he got up there and I jumped up to go catch him before he fell, but I kicked a chair that was between us. And then I've told this story. My pinky toe was pointing in the wrong direction. I was like, very clearly broken. And I went to urgent care, and the doctor's mashing. I was like, I don't think anything's wrong with it. It's like, it's definitely wrong. And then she took X-rays. Like, I see it now. I was like, yeah, I could have told you. I have a picture from when it happened, and my toe was pointing in the wrong direction. Anyways, I was just curious. Update, actually, the fingernail is off now. So there's that. Now it's just a nail bed that you have to make sure it's protected and clean and all that kind of stuff. But no longer have to deal with it flapping around, which I guess is better. Coincidentally, I also had an incident when I was young that I lost a nail, and I guess that's probably what stemmed from all this. Was I don't know how it happened. I had an infection in my finger, and my stepmom lanced my finger to drain it, but then following she was a nurse.
But who wants to hear all this?
Everybody does.
You're talking about oh, okay.
I have a scar still.
I'm sure you do.
And then it eventually lost that fingernail. So that's probably where this comes from. Let's wrap this up, man. With what we learned.
Okay.
Let's get out of this.
All right, let's do it. I'll start first. So, have a Court Queens update. The regular season ended tonight. Unfortunately, it was a loss for the beloved Court Queens. They had a rematch against a team that the first team they beat this season. And they beat them 10-9 in game 4 and went on a bit of a run there. But then the rematch here in game 10 did not go the Court Queens way, ended up losing 10-8. Had a lead in the 3rd and the 4th. Lost the lead and lost the game. So they end in 4th in the standings, and that puts them starting the playoffs tomorrow. Bracket starts tomorrow, man. We don't got much time to worry about this one. So playoffs tomorrow against the number 5 squad. So 4-5 in the first round, and I will let you know how that goes next week. We'll see if they're able to advance in game 1, they will play a second game, and then the third game, if they were to win both of those, would be the championship game. So not super optimistic, but I will say most all of these games have been close, especially the losses. So, really proud of, especially my court queen. She shot one shot in the last two games, swished them both. Just thrilled about that. And and those were the only two times like she really had the ball below the basket. But she's playing defense. She's rebounding is still tough at this age. It's tough for the girls to kind of figure out where the ball is going to come, where it's going to be,
Right.
and then also how to interact with it when it shows up just in front of you. Like, it's like it always surprises them.
Just appears.
So yeah. So I get it. That's a skill that they will learn eventually. But just really proud of our girl. She's just keeps getting better, and had another bucket tonight. So out of the 8 points, she scored 2 of them. How about that? I'll take it.
Well, good luck to our court queens and the postseason.
Thank you very much.
I have one thing to add, and this may turn into its own standalone segment. The early morning running club struck again this morning. Were you aware? Did you get up, or did you even care to try to go look at the lunar eclipse this morning?
I did not. I'm in a text group, and no, let me rephrase. It's not that I didn't care. I didn't know. I was not aware. I was in a text group this morning, and one of the guys was up pretty early and was like, "Hey, there's still time to go see it." And by the time I saw it, it was too late. But there was a red moon or a blood moon out tonight. That was really cool to see coming back from the basketball game.
Yeah. So I saw it. I guess it was it only popped up like Monday afternoon. That hey, there's going to be a lunar eclipse Tuesday morning, and the timeline I saw said it was supposed to start about 5 o'clock and then be done by 6. I was like, well, I'm usually up and I'm out the door by 6 to start my workouts. I'll adjust early. I'll get up earlier and just start earlier. And so and Tuesdays is my long walk days. So I'll just do my walk. I'll just start early so I can go watch it. Get out there, and it's a little extra cloudy today. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to see it. That sucks. But it was like one of those like low clouds they were blowing through really quickly. So like every now and then it would kind of break. And I was like, oh, look, there it is. The timeline for whatever it was way off. Like it said it was supposed to start at 5, peak about 5:30, and be done by 6. Well, what I experienced was it. Of course, I only saw parts of it because of the clouds. It went through the phases where like it went through the I don't have the penumbra where it goes red first. I saw that go through. That was the real long thing up at the beginning. And then you got like the actual total eclipse piece of it where it was a full moon, but depending on when you looked at it, it was just, a different size visible moon. So anyways, all that to say, I'm out there a little early. So I get there a couple minutes probably after this notoriously inconsiderate morning running club. They get there and they're doing their stretching and their dynamic warm-ups or whatever, and they're taking up 3 lanes to do it. And again, they're not taking up so much space that they couldn't do it in the extra runoff spots of the straightaway lanes. They could be doing all of that down there. They could be doing it in the grass, like on the football playing field. So, 3 out of my 4 laps, I have to avert around them. While they were actually doing stuff when I first got there. So it's not like they were just standing around talking, which is really irritating. It was a little extra busy this morning. Maybe other people had the same idea to be out there to take in the eclipse during their morning exercises. The track was a little extra busy. There was one dude running like 100-yard wind sprints that like flying. I was like, this dude can fly. The problem is guys
combine
that sprint is they'll sprint the right direction and then they'll just walk back. Again, just right there in the lane. It's like, just take a couple steps over, man. Get out of the lanes. So running club, they finished their runs. And then again, there was 3 of them. And they were there 20 minutes after they were all done running, blocking lanes. Today I was not the only person that was going around them, but they didn't move. They just stood there blocking 3 of the 4 lanes for a handful of other people that were running, that were walking. This wind sprinter had them go around them. They just stood there. It's like, how could you be so obtuse and inconsiderate? Just move.
Someday, maybe they'll figure it out, but probably not.
I'm just gonna run into them like, get off the track.
Track, just obnoxiously yelling track the whole time.
Yeah, I'm not actually running. I'm not going to slow down.
That's what makes it better. That's what makes it better.
You saw me coming, and I saw you standing there.
You start yelling it from like 50 yards away. Track
on your left.
On your left.
Anyways, I'm so sick of these people.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned the lunar eclipse. Speaking of celestial bodies, daylight savings time.
I had no idea where you're going with that. I had this in the notes in front of me. I had no idea where you're going with that.
Oh man, it's just a beautiful transition. So daylight savings time will be here this Sunday again. That means we all get to drive to work in the dark again, and we get to drive to work eventually in the blinding sun again, and the state of Arizona will continue to ignore it again, and politicians will call to abolish it again, and nothing will change again. So very excited about CST coming up, losing an hour of sleep. And
later sunsets though, Michael. Later sunsets.
It's great. I just really look forward to mid-June when it's freaking 9:45 outside and it's still sunny. It's just wonderful. Love it. It's 108 degrees. Best time of the year.
Can you understand? I'm not teaching it, but being on the edge of the time zone really accentuates that, Michael. Because like right now, I'm driving into the sun in my mornings. I'm going like it's above the houses, below my shade. Like there's one light. I just have to wait for somebody else to tell me it's green because I literally can't see it. It's like, here's me, here's the light I'm looking at, here's the sun, straight line.
Well, what's great is on Monday, it'll be pitch dark. So that won't be a problem for you anymore until it is again. So that means instead of dealing with that twice a year, you get to deal with it 4 times a year. Because of this. This is how I always look at it. Because those of us who live in West Texas, and it can happen on the coast too. It's not quite as hilly down there.
I always mention that because I'm a few miles east of you.
Yeah, you're a little bit east of me, but you still get the full of. Oh, speaking of east, I'm driving east today. This is terrible. Oh my gosh! So you're still getting that. And so you'll get to get it again. You get to get it twice as often. Those of you who drive home in the west in the evenings into that blinding sun get to do it 4 times a year before it finally evens itself out instead of just twice. But no, this is good. We should keep doing it. Just because. Sure, why not? Let's just go for it. It means something to someone, and I'm not bitter about it at all.
Yeah,
I'm not
doesn't sound like it.
going to be upset that. Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of clients in Arizona, and it's always fun to have to Google that every time that you're trying to set up a Teams meeting, because 2 hours makes a big difference when you're trying to set up a meeting with somebody.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, even though it doesn't seem like it would. And in that same vein, my mother-in-law, when she lived in Florida, she was in the panhandle of Florida, and to kind of echo what you were saying, that was about as east into the central time zone as you could get. And in that part of Florida, she talked about driving home from school. She was a school teacher. So 3:30, 4 o'clock, and it's almost pitch dark because of being on the very eastern edge of the central time zone. So yeah, it's safe and good for everybody, though. We should keep doing it this way.
I mean, we had similar experiences living in eastern New Mexico when,
yeah.
like in December, we're leaving work at 4:30 and the sun's going down.
Yes. Yep. Because you're on the very eastern edge of mountain. That's right.
Mm-hmm. I was going to point something out. Oh, I'm just gonna. Not that it was done strategically, but where we live in relation to where we work. In the morning, we're mostly driving west. So when we come home in the evenings, we're mostly driving east. So, or I guess we're going northwest to work, southeast to home. So we're not driving into the sun.
We live in the dream.
We just have the one intersection, which is just, it's blinding. Anywho's, enough geography talk for us. Celestial bodies. That'll do it for us here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We'll be back next week to recap the game, the final regular season game, men's basketball game, get you prepped for the men's tournament, recap how the women's tournament is going or has gone, get you updates for softball and baseball. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.